Hi everybody, I've been waiting to film this video for such a long time, but I'm going to be doing a 2024 book review and all the books I've read in 2024. And I have background noise, by the way. Also, this is my second time filming this. I got through half of it and then my camera died and I was like, I didn't really like how I did the first part. So we're gonna do it all again. But to recap, let me open my Goodreads. I read 30 books this year and I read 11,808 pages. And I read most of my books on physical copies. I read some online and some of them I borrowed from my friend. So I'll show you guys the ones I do have. And I also have my phone out to find out how many stars I rated it and kind of a little bit of summary about them. So before we start, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to get right into it. Okay. So the first book I read was not that book. It was The Mistake by Elle Kennedy. And this is the second book in the Off-Campus series. This is one of the books I read online. And I read the first book, The Deal, in 2023. And so I had some high expectations because it was just like a cute little hockey romance. But I rated this one 2 stars. This one is about Logan and Grace, and I don't know, it wasn't as good as The Deal. And sorry, the light is blinding me, but I kind of like the hockey series because I feel like they're kind of the same though, because something traumatic happens to one of the characters or they're just like trying to chase the girl. But they were like simple and easy books to read, so that's why I like them. Okay, the next book I read was Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This was a memoir about her life, her love, her losses, herself, her issues, and kind of just like everything and anything about her. And every time she would have a birthday, she'd be like, everything I know about 28, and then in the end, it's like everything I know about love. And kind of everything just comes back to her friendships with her women. If you ever heard of the, it was like, everything I know about love comes from my long-term friendships with women. I'll put the quote up here because I don't remember. But I just love this book. It was super sweet, and I think this is going to cause me to read more memoirs in 2025 because I really liked it, and I feel like it was just like kind of informative, and I just felt like I was talking to a long-term friend. You know what I'm saying? So I'd recommend this one. Then I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I rate this book 5 stars, so 5 stars back to back, because I rated Everything I Know About Love 5 stars. I don't know if I mentioned that. But this one I just loved. Basically, her name is Evelyn Hugo, and she was a Hollywood star. She didn't grow for much, and she kind of works her way to the top. And she's basically giving this interview. She never accepted any interviews, but there's a lot of things going on about her that are fake. And so she was setting the record straight, and she's like, on this day, I think it was like when she died, they could release it. I'm pretty sure it's that. I could be spreading false information. But basically, she had an interviewer come, and she knew the interviewer. I don't remember how, but she did. And she sat down and was telling her entire story about how she worked her way to the top, how each husband impacted her, whether it was really like love or not. And then you also talk about Cecilia. And this is being turned into a movie, I'm pretty sure. A movie? I think a movie. I don't know if it's turning a series. But I love this one because it just made me like a background character on a movie set. That's what I wrote in my notes. So, 5 stars. Then, I'm trying to make sure I'm getting them all. Then I read A Girl's Guide to Murder, and I borrowed this one from my friend, by Holly Jackson. And I rated it 4 stars, and it's just basically about Pip. She's solving a murder on her school project because there was an Andy Bell case, and Andy's boyfriend at the time was the person who was the murderer, but it turns out Pip doesn't think he's the murderer, and he turns out to not actually be the murderer. Spoiler alert. And she's just going through this case and figuring out, she's doing all these interviews, finding clues. And it's kind of like a murder mystery, and I really like this book. It's also a series. and I read more books in that series later on, and I'll talk more about those. But 4 stars, I really liked this one. Then I read Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, and this is about Roman and Iris, and they work at the Gazette together, and they're kind of enemies because they're both really good writers, and they're fighting for this position, I'm pretty sure. And there's actually a war going on right now, and so they're trying to figure out who's going to be one of the writers in the war. And they each have a secret typewriter, a magic typewriter. Basically, her aunt or her grandma gave her a typewriter, and whenever you type on it and you send it through like your door or something, it goes to the other person that owns the typewriter. And so she's been typing and talking to this person for a while. She didn't know that Roman was the other one who had the typewriter. He also had a typewriter. So they're talking back and forth and back and forth, and they don't really realize it's each other until a while later when she goes into the war to report about it. So that's something interesting, and they kind of fall for each other. So it's a little bit of enemies to lovers. I recommend this one, and I recommend the second book, which I will talk about in a second. So my 6th book that I read this year was The Score by L. Kennedy. It was the 3rd book in the Off-Campus series, and this is about Allie and Dean. It's basically they spend one night with each other, and then she's just kind of like over it, and then he like falls for her, and he's trying to chase her because he's never had a girl like say no to him or like to not fall for him, and so he's trying to get her, and she's like not really. So it's kind of like the chase, and I rated that 3 stars. I'm pretty sure I said it was okay. I liked doing that. Okay, and then I read Ruthless Vows, which is the 2nd book in this duology. It's only 2 books, I'm pretty sure. And this is more about, so they connected in the 1st book, and then Roman is missing, and it turns out that he is actually captivated by the other side, because Iris was typing for this one side, and then he was also, and then he gets lost in the war, but she gets saved and comes back home, but he gets captured, and he has to write for this side, and she sees his writing, and they meet somewhere, I don't remember how, and they kind of help end this war together. So I will say, if you like just a quick kind of fantasy, I think these, or adventure, these go hand in hand, and they're also kind of easy to read if you don't want to read a huge series, just like 2 quick books. Because I feel like fantasy books, you can't just have one of them, you have to have 2 of them, and I feel like these 2 are really good, so I recommend them. Okay, then I read Vow of Thieves, which is also just a duology as well. I read Dance of Thieves last year. And I rated this 4 stars. This is by Mary E. Pearson, and I really did like this one. I liked it more than Dance of Thieves. Just because in the Dance of Thieves it's kind of like them getting together, and then this is them with each other, and I don't have a lot to say about it because I don't remember half of it, but it's like one of those books that I really enjoyed reading, but I can't like recite word for word what happens. So there's that. And it also has water damage from me. Oops. Then I read The Deliverer, which I borrowed from Madison, and basically I rated this 3 stars. I forgot her name, whatever, but she has to relive the worst Valentine's Day over and over, so she's on a time loop because her boyfriend cheated on her, and she sees him, and she also gets in a car accident on the way to school, so she's just going through it. And then she keeps seeing this guy everywhere, and his name is Nick, and she starts to fall for him because she's seeing him in all these different instances. No matter if she takes a different route to school, she still sees him, and still ends up accidentally crashing her car. So that is a quick contemporary moments. I don't remember the author, but okay. Then I read Practice Makes Perfect and by Sarah Adams. I read another Sarah Adams book, and they're just like quick, like cutesy romances. So I rated this 4 stars, and this is the flower shop owner. Her name's Annie, and her brother Noah is engaged to, I think she's like I don't know, she's like a pop star or something. Her name's Amelia, and this is their bodyguard, Will. and they're like all staying in their hometown together preparing for this wedding. And so Will is obviously living with Annie, and Annie, she's this like cute innocent person, and she's never really dated anyone, and so he's giving her dating lessons. So I bet we all can know where that leads to, her connecting feelings for him. And I honestly picked this book just because of the cute cover and just because, yeah. So there's that. And then I read Carrie Soto's Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, another book by her. I rated this 4 stars, and this is about Carrie Soto, and she was a pro tennis player. She like won so many championships, I'm pretty sure, and she was in retirement, and then somebody was on track to beat her championship titles or win more titles than her. So it's kind of her getting back into tennis and trying to just be the best she can be. And I really liked this book because it was kind of her being like, I need to be the best, I need to get back, even though she wasn't, her trying, even though she was failing. She had this determination in her, which I really liked. And I just really liked this tennis world. I don't know. That she needed to go back and back. And in the end, I like the ending still. Even though she was like trying to get it, I do like the ending. So this was a good summer book to read by the pool while I was tanning. Very good. Alright, then I have It Happened One Summer, and this is between Piper and Brendan. Yeah. Piper is this pop star, and she was basically going crazy. She's just spending a bunch of... She's not a pop star. She's just like an influencer. And she did something really bad and ended up in jail. So her stepdad sends her back to... It's Westport, Washington. It's a small town. Pretty sure her stepdad and her used to live here when she was a little girl. So she's been there before. And her dad owns a bar. I'm pretty sure. And so he sends her, and you're like, you have to fix this, you have like barely any budget, you have to do this to prove to me that you can do something with your life other than just be reckless. Then you have Brendan, who's a fisherman, and he's just this very grumpy person. He doesn't like her. Obviously, you know, you have that more grumpy sunshine, and he's like, she's entitled. You see that in the beginning of chapter, and then you kind of see her kind of like the small town, and him start to like her. Very good, very good. And this was by Tessa Bailey also. 4 stars. 4 stars. Oh no, there goes my books. Alright, and then we have... We're gonna start talking about one of my favorite series ever. I actually have one book in between them, so I'm gonna talk about that first. So this is Mr. Fixer-Upper by Lucy Score, and this is about Paige and Gannon. Gannon is a construction worker for this reality TV show to fix things, and he's like one of the owners. Then you have Paige, who is one of the producers on it, and you kind of see them butt heads because she's like telling him to do things, and he's like no, but then he starts to fall for her, and she's very professional, and he's like trying to get rid of that professionalism so he can, you know, date her. I rated this 4 stars. I liked this. I'm gonna put you there. Okay, now we're going to talk about my angels. If you've never heard about the Chestnut Spring series, you need to get on. You need to get on it. Okay. I read them all back to back to back. Like, okay, we're going to talk about each of them. I don't have a favorite. I love them all equally. I think. There's one that I rated 4 stars, so. Okay. We're going to... This is all by Elsie Silver. If you guys never heard of her, she's amazing. The first book is Flawless, and I rated this 4.5 stars. And this is about Rhett in summer. And Rhett is this bull rider, and he's done some questionable things on live TV that has made him lose sponsors, and he needs these sponsors to go to these bull riding competitions. So Summer is hired by his agent to just kind of like supervise him and to make sure he doesn't do like anything bad or say something that he shouldn't be saying online. And at first he hates her because obviously he doesn't want somebody watching her, but then, you know, he just like thinks about her all the time, and then, you know, we know what happens in romance books. Then my next book is The Heartless. This was a 5-star read, and this is about Cade Eaton, and Willa. Cade is a single dad, and Willa is hired to be his nanny. Also, if I didn't say before, all of these boys are connected. Either they're siblings, I think most of them are siblings, or one of them are friends, and like, just want to say that. So like, they're all in the same ranch in Chestnut Springs. Okay, so this is about Cade and Willa, and she's watching his daughter because he is a rancher. I don't think he's not a bull rider. He's just a ranch hand on the farm, and he can't watch his kid all the time. So she is, and then she's obviously living with them. And you see Willa fall for his son. I didn't know if it was a son or a daughter. His son, and then he also falls for her. Okay, then we have Powerless, and I rated this one. Sorry. I rated this one 5 stars. This is about Jasper and Sloane. They were childhood best friends, and she has loved him for so long, and she was supposed to get married, and then her life like falls apart on her wedding day, and he is someone to pick her up, take her on a trip, and then she needs somewhere to stay, so he voluntarily takes her in, and they're like friendly, and then they get more than friends. Okay. Then we have Reckless, which I rated 4 stars. This is about Theo and Winter, and they had one night together. And Winter is also Summer's sister, and she's a nurse, and they had a night together because I think Winter was visiting Summer, and Winter is also a very cold person. Winter and Summer have lots of issues, but Winter had issues with her own mom because they're like half sisters, stepsisters, whatever, doesn't matter. They had like different moms or something. They had one night together, and she finds out she's pregnant. Okay, she texts Theo and she's like pregnant or whatever, and telling him. So Theo is also a bull rider, and this might be a spoiler, I'm not too sure, so spoiler warning. But she texts him and tells him I'm pregnant, and he texts back, "Thanks for letting me know." Turns out his agent is the one who had the phone. So Theo didn't know she had this baby because his agent didn't tell her. And so she comes back in his life, and he sees this little child and is like, "It's me." So it's kind of the Winter letting him have a relationship with her kid, obviously, and then having a relationship with Winter. Okay, and then the last book of the Chestnut Springs series was Hopeless, and this is about Bo. We're gonna call it Bo. I don't know, I don't really say this name out loud. And Bailey. And Bo, he is a military hero, and he's like seen a lot. He's gone through a lot. He's had a lot of trauma. And Bailey, her family is just like known for being horrible, and so everybody in the town thinks she's horrible, and she's a bartender in the town. And Bo is tired of people like coming up to him trying to like get with him, and so they have a fake engagement because he wants people to lay off his back, and she wants people to see her as a good person, that she actually is a very good person. She doesn't like her family. And this fake engagement goes into more than just fake. And that was the Chestnut Springs series. You guys all should read those. I loved them. You would too. Okay, then I read Good Girl, Bad Blood, which is the second book in the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. And I rated this 4 stars just because it took me back into the series, and I like missed the series so much. Basically, someone goes missing, and Pippa goes back into the world of mystery. And it's also more Pip and Ravi, which is Ravi is her love interest, and they're together. Yay! And then I read the 3rd book, which is As Good as Dead. I only rated it. Oh, I rated it 4 stars still. It just wasn't as fun, but I still missed the series. Okay, then I read Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. I rated those 3 stars. It's like Gossip Girl, it's just like rich kids in New York. And it's about Magnolia and BJ mainly. And he broke her heart, but they always find somewhere to be back together. And I don't know. It's like they were together for a while and she's like trying to move on, but it's just like they always are drawn together. And then mic drop at the end. Mic drop at the end. I have the rest of the series that I'm gonna complete in 2025. So I'll tell you guys how it goes. But I don't like BJ as much in this book. I don't know. He gives me the ick. So we'll see if he evolves in other books. Okay, then I read Happy Place by Emily Henry, and I rated this 2 stars. I don't think I like Emily Henry. That's probably just a me thing. But this book is between Harriet and Wynne, and they were in a long-term relationship. They look like a perfect couple. Then they broke up 6 months ago, and they didn't tell their friends, and they were like in this like huge friend group with like couples and couples. So they go to Maine. They go to Maine every summer in somebody's family cottage, I'm pretty sure. And they have to act like they're just still together because they're not. And I don't really like this. I didn't like it, the concept of them like kind of being forced proximity, kind of having to be back together and they get back together. But I just didn't like it. And you kind of see it how they broke up kind of for no reason. I didn't like it. Okay, I didn't like it. And end of story about that. Then I read The 7 Year Slip, which I gave to Madison. And I rated it 4.5 stars. And this is about Clementine, and her aunt gave her her apartment after she passed away. And she didn't know, but this apartment, you can travel back 7 years, and I'm pretty sure you can go forward 7 years. And her aunt, 7 years ago, let a guy rent the apartment while she was on vacation. And one day Clementine goes in, because it's now her apartment, and she sees this guy. And then you see them blossom, and you see her kind of fall for her, and you see how every time she goes in the apartment, she hopes he's there. I really like this book. I liked the 7 year, like how the apartment changed. I liked it. Okay. Then I read The Catcher in the Rye. This is not The Catcher in the Rye from school. I rated it 2 stars. I liked it. It's okay. I don't want to talk about it. Then I read Before the Coffee Gets Cold. I don't know how to say this author's name, but I liked this book. I rated it 3.5 stars. Basically, there's this cafe that you can travel back in time. You have to like sit at the stool. There's rules you have to follow. And basically, you can stay there as long as you get back before the coffee gets cold or you turn into a ghost. And this goes through a couple stories. I like this book because it's kind of very mundane. Nothing really happens. And there's like different people going back in time for different reasons. And I did cry at one point in this book. I'm pretty sure. But I like this book. Very simple. If you want a simple, quick read, I recommend this one. The next book I have is The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And I rated this 3 stars. This is by Laurie Gilmore, and it reminds me so much of Gilmore Girls. If you've ever watched Gilmore Girls, this is like a Lorelai and Luke. So this is about Jeannie, and she is given her aunt's cafe, which is called the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, to run it and own it because she's just had a desk job and she's kind of bored of it, and so she jumped at this opportunity. Then you have Logan, who is a local farmer. And most of the small town is kind of like gossipy, kind of cliquey, and he kind of avoids that. And he kind of has like this strict routine of going to the cafe and seeing the same person, you know, kind of like that thing. And Jenny kind of disrupts his routine, and it kind of makes him irritated that there's a new girl in the town when no new people have really moved to the town. So, and he's lived there like his whole life, and he doesn't really like change, but they do kind of like connect a little because he does like help her build this cafe. There's like a random noise she has downstairs, and he helps her trying to locate and find that. And it's just very cute. It's kind of grumpy sunshine, and this was a really good fall book read because it just kind of set me in the fall mood. Alright, and then I have another fall book. This was okay. It wasn't really my favorite to get me in the fall book mood. I read this in November. I couldn't really get through it. It was a long time. but I rated this 2 stars. This is You Again by Kate Goldbeck. It was a lot mentioned on TikTok, that's why I got it. This is about Ari and Josh. They meet and they kind of hate each other instantly, and then over the course of multiple years they kind of meet randomly at random things and random points of their life. Like there's breakups, haircuts, different things. So one time Ari is engaged, she's married, and then the next she's like not, and then they kind of just become friends. This is very When Harry Met Sally, kind of like that, where they just like randomly meet and they kind of sort of hate each other and then they connect and kind of become friends. This is like that. And actually didn't really like this. It was very slow, boring. I don't know, like it takes them a very long time to get to the friend stage, and it's just, I don't know, mundane. And I really liked When Harry Met Sally, so I don't know, I wouldn't recommend this to anybody. Which is harsh. But then I have Picking Daisies on Sunday by Lana Kinnicott. I really liked the cover. It's very cutesy, which just like speaks for the book itself. And this is about Abigail. Her name is Daniela Daisy, but this one guy calls her Daisy. Most people call her Daisy because it's her middle name, or they call her Danny. And it's about Danny and Levi, and all throughout high school they were like best friends, but Danny always liked Levi. Then they had this incident where she got drunk at prom, and she was with her prom date, and she was saying I love him to, this might be a spoiler, I never know if things are a spoiler or not, but she basically said I love him to Levi, and she meant that she loved Levi. Levi thought she meant she loved this other guy. So you see a little miscommunication already. And then at a bar, his ex is like trying to get him back, and he like accidentally says that they're dating. She sees him and she's like, this is like 4 years after the incident, and she's just like, she can't forget her feelings for him. So they start like dating for his sister's wedding, and I kind of liked it. It was very cute. Like obviously the fake dating comes to something more, but it's kind of like her feeling back to her feelings, but she can't tell if he liked her or not, or if he just likes a new version of her, or if he never liked her at all, and kind of getting some random feelings and not really knowing. But it's very cute. I do recommend it. But this is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and they are 2 doctors. It's about Brianna and Jacob, and Brianna has worked at the hospital for a very long time. The nurses love her, everybody loves her. She's a very nice, bubbly person. Her brother actually is going into kidney failure. Her brother has like lots of issues and has been sick for a while. Jacob is the new doctor. Everybody kind of hates him because he kills a bunch of people when he first gets there, but most of them are close to death anyway, and just nobody likes her. And then he takes up Brianna. They write notes back to each other. That's why they're writing, like before they even start talking and texting, they're just writing back to each other. And actually Jacob gives her brother one of his kidneys. That's very sweet. And then they just kind of become like very close friends. They have lunch dates in the closet, and they kind of, I don't remember if they're real dating or fake dating, but they like meet each other's parents. I think he used to be engaged or married, and it was married, I'm pretty sure. His ex-wife is marrying his brother, and they decided to like be together. So they're like prepping for this wedding and going out to these family events, and it's kind of that. So also Jacob has like, he's a very introverted person and has lots of anxiety, and I thought that was cool to read, because most of the time in books you read about girls having that, but not really men, and so I thought that was cool spotlight to have in the book. Then my last book of the read that I actually finished yesterday is The Christmas Fix by Lucy Score, and if you guys recall my book earlier, Mr. Fixer-Upper, this is sort of about that world because it's Gannon's sister, his cat, and in the town of Mary, there is the city council manager, Noah. He also has like a 12-year-old daughter, and Kat, they just were hit with a huge storm. There's flood, there's damage everywhere, and the main revenue they get from the town of Mary is a Christmas festival they have every year. Like people out of town come, out of state come, and that's they get most of their money for the year. And now they can't really have it because everything's damaged, like the Christmas tree, all the Christmas decorations are ruined. So Kat took over Gannon's job as the reality TV construction worker person. So she's like working a bunch of days, and so they come to Mary and help rebuild it. And they had like 9 weeks to do so, and Noah is very skeptical of this because he's like, he doesn't want to give his town false hope when if she's not going to actually fix it up for them. She does fix it up for him, in case you guys always wondering. So it's kind of like that. They kind of like started off rough and hated each other. Then they start to like each other. Then they're kind of secretly dating. Then you have them actually dating, and then you're like, she might pick up and move when this leaves because, you know, there's like a timeline, like Christmas Eve is the last episode that will air, so after that she doesn't have an obligation to stay. But I really liked this book, and I kind of like Lucy Score. Like I read like 200 pages yesterday, so I would recommend it. Also, it's like Christmassy, but not like too Christmas in your face, if that makes sense. So those are all the books I read in 2024. So I read 30. My goal this year was 50, but about like part of the way during in my senior year in school, I kind of stopped reading for a little bit. So next year my plan is to read 40 books, so just a 10 book difference. I have a couple books on my TBR waiting to be read, so I'm going to try and read those this week while I'm still in Christmas break. But I'm going to put my journal to good use and put all about these books. And yeah, I hope to talk more about books in future videos. I talk sometimes about them, but not like too in-depth. So I will try in next videos to come. But thank you guys all for watching, and also if you can even hear the music, if you can, I'm linking my playlist down below. It's just like my room playlist that I put on sometimes when I don't want quiet. I want something in the background. So I hope if any of you like these books, and maybe I influenced you to buy a book or read a book that's been on your TBR for a while, that is the goal. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. This is my last video of 2024, so I am just, if any of you have been watching all my vlogs, I love you. I love you, because honestly these are just fun for me to make and edit, and so when I'm not a senior in high school I can look back on these. But regardless, thank you all for watching this book video. I might be doing more book videos, maybe just like sitting down reading books for a week or something like that, I don't know. But goodbye everybody.